نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Respected participants, today we are studying trying to understand verse number 5 from chapter Al-Hajj, meaning pilgrimage. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind or O people, in kuntum fi raib, if you are in any kind of doubt, min al-ba'th, about resurrection, فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ, then know it, that we created you min turab, from dust, summa min nutfa, then from a droplet, summa min alaka, then from a clinking clot, summa min mudga, then from a lump of flesh, mukhallakatin wa ghayra mukhalla, partly shaped and partly unshaped or undifferentiated. لِنُبَيِّنَ لَكُمْ, so that we make things clear to you about our creative powers. وَنُكِّرُ فِي الْأَرْحَامِ, and we settle in the wombs, مَا نَشَاءُ, what we will, إِلَى أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى, till a prescribed or appointed time. ثُمَّ نُخْرِجُكُمْ طِفْلًا, then we bring you out to this world as babies. ثُمَّ لِتَبْلُغُوا أَشُدَّكُمْ, then we nurture you till you attain age of maturity. وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُتَوَفَّى, and amongst you are some who die during this period. وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُرَدُّ إِلَى أَرْضِ الْأُمَّرِ, and some of you are returned to abject old age. لِكَيْ لَا يَعْلَمْ, so that they know nothing. مِنْ بَعْدِ عِلْمٍ شَيْئًا, after knowing everything. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. We stop here. This is just one first part of this chapter, verse number 5. As I told you earlier, that this verse talks about the microscopic dimension of the creative powers of Almighty Allah. Those people who read Qur'an, understand Qur'an, or even who are associated with medical sciences like embryology, neonatology, prenatal development, and all this stuff, there's some misconception regarding that. Generally, our feeling is that creation of human being starts from the time when a woman conceives baby, when there is fertilization of an ovum by a sperm, and it results in formation of zygote or a fertilized egg, and it starts the systematic creation of human being. But what Quran tells us, and now what we can feel and understand, this is only the second phase of the creation. In fact, creation of human being starts the time when a seed is sown in the soil. Whenever a seed is sown in the soil, it is in fact from there that the creation of human being starts. That's what this verse also talks about. It is not only in this verse, this is repeated in Quran. Here Al-Quran says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, in kuntum fi raib, if you are in any kind of doubt, min al-bas, about resurrection, that you will be dead one day, and then all the human beings will be brought back to life. If you have any kind of doubt regarding it, then remember, فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ مِنْ تُرَابٍ, we created you, or we are creating you from dust. You should remember, it is plural. It's not regarding the creation of Adam. The Quran talks about that the first man, first human being on earth, that's Adam, our father, was created out of dust. But at times, and many places in Quran, as here, Quran use the word plural. In فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ, that we have created you, or we are creating all of you, humans, from dust. That many facts about life sciences I have learned from Quran, which I was not in a position to learn in my normal study, in my research and studying regular subject as life science subjects. It is Quran which gave me some insight to understand the reality behind everything. And this is one of the phenomena. I was surprised when I found in chapter Surah Nuh, verse number 17, when Quran talks about Wallahu anbatakum min al-ardi nabata. Wallah, and it's Allah. Anbatakum, O people, who grows you, Wallahu anbatakum min al-ardi, from earth, nabata, in a wondrous way. The way Quran talks about that we grow vegetation from earth, Quran says that we grow you, O humans, from earth. So that's what it's mentioned here also. فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ, we created you, or we are creating you from dust. It's not only that Quran talks about creation of Adam from dust. Since then, all the humans have, Allah has been creating, is creating at the moment. And even while we are staying here, our growth is continuing, and that's from dust, that's from earth. And all the humans who are going to come till doomsday, they'll be created out of dust. Quran talks about it again in chapter Al-Mu'minun, which is just following chapter from after we complete chapter Al-Hajj. It's verse number 12. Well, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. And certainly we خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ, man, that man includes Adam as well all the humans, including we people, مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ, from dust, from the extract of sulala means extract, from the extract of dust. We have created you, or humans. So that's why I have split this verse into two parts. Number one, the first phase, and the second phase. Second phase is quite clear, we know it. But first phase, we have some confusion about that. As I told you about Quran talks, says creation of man starts from the time when a seed is sown. What for seeds are sown? It is simply to provide man his food and all the ingredients he needs for growth, for development, and for reproduction. Quran gives this as an evidence for the resurrection, day of resurrection. See, once a seed is sown in soil, it has, though, of course, some stored food in it, in its embryo, but it needs some ingredients for growth. It needs some warmth, but not direct heat. As a newborn baby needs an optimum temperature for the sustenance. But it's not like that. If we expose that baby before a burning stove or an electric heater or a gas stove, he'll be roasted alive. What we do normally, that we put the baby in a blanket, and in the corner of the room, we use some electric or gas stove. And the same thing happens when a seed is sown. It needs temperature, but not an optimum temperature, but not direct heat. And the only source of temperature, energy, in this part of the universe is sun, where from we get, which sun, what we call now thermonuclear furnace, having high temperatures, temperature going to millions of degrees of centigrade. And it is from there we receive the heat, and the soil gets warmth. And through this blanket of soil, the seed receives the temperature necessary for its growth. It needs water. And sources of water are nothing but great water bodies, oceans and seas, which are hundreds and thousands of kilometers away. But not only that, it needs that ocean water, but it needs the purest form of water. Saline water, or water contaminated with suspended or dissolved impurities, is quite dangerous for growing seed and this earth. So how does it happen? We see, Quran talks about it. Quran talks clearly, and we know now that what happens, that this thermonuclear furnace, 150 million kilometers away from Earth, that's what we call in Indian language 15 crore kilometers. And it provides enough heat and energy which makes this ocean waters to boil, and vapors come up, which is purest form, and all the impurities, whether suspended or dissolved, remain in the oceans and water bodies. Vapors go up, but they can't go up for infinite space or infinite period of time, but there's a limit to it. Like we say, higher we go, the cooler it is. Reaching a particular space or level, it stops, it starts freezing. So there's boiling, evaporation, and then there's condensation. These vapors get condensed into clouds. And according to Quran, clouds are being carried away by blowing winds to different parts of the world. And when they reach a particular height, after condensation, we see there's precipitation. It is, incidentally, it is in Quran. And we see droplets falling from that clouds, which reach the seed which we have sown. And this is the purest form of water, because this is the product of distillation. What we study in our chemistry, physics, and modern sciences, this is distillation, that we get purest form of water. Incidentally, man didn't know that rainwater is the purest form of water, but Quran talks about it 1400 years back. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً طَهُورًا, that we send down from heavens the purest ma'an tahura, the purest form of water. And today we know the biggest distillation plant is earth itself, where there is distillation process, and the purest form of water falls because seeds need it. It receives heat from the sun, then water from the water bodies, and in that too in the purest form, and it needs something more also, some minerals for its sustenance, and that minerals are provided by earth itself. And it needs some help, because it's a growing baby, it cannot eat food of its own. What's it? There are agencies which we don't know, which we can't normally see with our naked eye, that there's hundreds and thousands and millions of microorganisms within the soil, whether they are protozoans or certain beneficial bacteria. We start working as soon as seed is sown, and they provide this sprouting seed all the ingredients which are needed by whom? By man. As I told, because this food has been provided for man, human being, for the creation of human being. Quran says, if you are in any kind of doubt regarding the day of resurrection, then know it, that we created you min turab, from dust. When a seed is sown, it starts sprouting. Two small minor branches come out of the seed in the first instance. First is pilumule, we call it. It goes up, whereas the other part is the radical, which forms the first root, and that root goes down in the soil, and then it starts absorbing through root here, it starts absorbing water from us. But the minor thing is small leaflet type thing, which goes up. We don't understand that. How is it? A small leaflet, so delicate that if we touch it just with our fingertip, it will be destroyed. How it comes up is not an ordinary thing. This is the greatest miracles and creative powers of Allah the Almighty. That we know from all the standards, the greatest law which has been established beyond doubt, which was discovered by Newton around 300 years back, and which stands good now, that there's a power of what called gravitational force, which attracts everything, pulls everything towards it. That's how we are on Earth. Otherwise we would have been blown away. How this pilumule, when it goes up, it fights that gravitational force. A small, delicate thing fights against, not only fights against its gravity, but it defeats gravity. It defeats this greatest force of Earth when it goes up. It's not an ordinary thing, which Quran draws our attention to. And then I told you, the leaves come out, sunlight falls in radiant energy, only green leaves. No human being can convert radiant energy into chemical energy. It's not possible for all human beings put together, because sunlight also falls on our body. We cannot trap it. It can only activate certain cells of our body, skin, which can generate vitamin D. It's not that vitamin D. Generally people feel this sunlight contains vitamin D. There's nothing like that. The sunlight only activates certain cells within our skin which produce vitamin D. And water from the soil, which goes up, which is called ascent of sap, that's also a miracle of the miracles. It took scientists, biologists at least 100 years to understand how this water goes up. When gravity and earth pulls everything down, how it goes up. It took at least 100 years. Many theories were put. It was ultimately a Nobel Prize winner, a scientist from India in 1920s, who proved it, and that was established, how this ascent of sap, how water goes up. And this water reaches the leaf, and this leaf has the power, having small pores, minute microscopic pores on the underside of the leaf, which trap carbon dioxide from atmosphere. And then we have in the leaf water from soil and carbon dioxide from atmosphere. And then we have the radiant energy, which has been converted to chemical energy, and that energy is used to mix up water and this carbon dioxide to produce glucose or carbohydrate food, what we call photosynthesis process. 6 times CO2 plus 6 times H2O gives C6H12O6 plus 6 times oxygen. It also generates oxygen for human consumption. And where from the carbon dioxide comes, which is trapped by the leaves, where from that comes? It is from humans and animals, because we absorb, we utilize, or we inhale oxygen from this atmosphere. The atmosphere, it is 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and just traces of other gases. The carbon dioxide, food for the leaves and plants, oxygen which they throw out as byproduct after manufacturing this food through the process of photosynthesis. It is being utilized by animals and human, including human beings, for their normal life. That's oxygen we need. We cannot live without that. So this is how food is produced. Seed passing through different stages. And finally we see leaves, then we see flowers, and ultimately we see fruits, which are being eaten by us, by humans. Either we eat, because it is for we people, we eat it. It's vegetables, cereals, and I told you fruits, everything, we use it as food. And all the ingredients of soil assimilated, joined together. Through vegetables we get mostly vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, and then minerals like potassium and iron and other minerals we get. Then they can produce some amount of proteins also through pulses, through soybeans, and fruits also. All the three kinds of food products are being consumed because they are being produced for human being. Why? Because human being is to be produced from turab, from dust. Otherwise, the soil contains everything we need. There would have been a way of getting it, that at the end of the day, in our dinner, we'd get a big plate as we take, instead of rice or wheat or vegetables or fruits, we could have taken directly some soil and clay, mix water in and start eating it. What would have been our concern? Somebody would have asked her, what are you doing? You are turned mad. I would tell them, because I know I need iron, I need potassium, I need proteins, I need some calcium and some trace of aluminium, everything I need. Human beings need aluminium also. All the things metals which we see in the periodic table, 122 or more now, it's in our body because we need it. It would have come directly, or what would have been our fate? But what kind of agency? This is divine agency, which gives us all these things, but in the purest and best possible manner, which our body needs and which is easily assimilated by our body. We take this food either directly or indirectly. Indirectly, the same vegetation is being consumed as food by animal folk, by cattle. It is this food chain which reaches finally us. And we grow. At the time we are growing, where from we get all the food? We eat the food. It is being chewed with the help of our teeth, then crushed, then it reaches our stomach, where it is grinded to fluid-like thing. And in the small intestines, it is being assimilated and absorbed and comes in our blood supply. And through that blood supply, whatever our part needs, it gets it. If the bones and joints need calcium, we have calcium carbonate which is deposited. Our eyes need vitamin A for normal growth. It is deposited in our eyes. We need iron. Iron is the basic ingredient of hemoglobin. That's blood. It is deposited in our blood. It's through this itself. Every part of our body gets enough food and we grow. And that's what Qur'an talks about. And then imagine, this is the first phase of creation. And then when everything reaches our body grows, it develops. Our organs, our cells, our tissues, our eyesight, our strength, our mind, even our cerebrum and cerebellum, all the neurons are derived from soil. If we don't eat, our mind will not work. So it is in our body. Which body? Which starts in embryonic stage from a single cell. From a single cell, a sperm and egg. They join together. They are of microscopic dimension, which we cannot see. Neither egg nor sperm can be seen by naked eye. It's so minute. In fact, sperm is 1/600th part of an inch, whereas egg or ovum is slightly bigger, 1/200th part of an inch. So they fuse together to form again a single cell, that is zygote. So human development starts from a single cell, fertilized egg. And see, it grows in the wombs of the mothers. And we see at the time of delivery, when a baby is delivered, you know how many cells it's composed of? It is around 20 inches long, having 200 billion cells. And then grow after birth, growth starts. As Quran says here, we nurture you to attain maturity. At a mature age, an adult human being, a normal human being is composed of 50 trillion cells. Trillion means 1,000 billion. So we are composed of 50,000 billion cells. How we are human? Now I want to emphasize, because from here, second phase starts now. The cells continuously divide, old cells are shed, and new cells are created. That's what's growth all about. We grow. There's degeneration, but simultaneously there's regeneration of cells. Old cells degenerating, new cells being formed. If, for example, just to make things simple, if we degenerate, hundreds of our cells are degenerated, 200 cells are produced. That means we grow. It goes up to a time that Quran talks in this verse too, when you become adult and mature age. Then there's a stage, arzal al-umr, where reduced to abject old age. What's that? That's in fact that their degeneration overtakes regeneration. More cells degenerate rather than they regenerate, and there's return to that feeble age. What determines any species in the world? It's the chromosome number which determines, is it? It's chromosome number which determines what we are. Every plant which is a living thing or any animal, every cell internally has many organs. The most important is nucleus. And within the nucleus we have chromosomes. How we are humans, you should remember, because we have 46 chromosomes in our cells. 46. That makes us human. Otherwise we would have anything else. Imagine cells divide, and it is by mitotic division. It's mitosis. That created cell divides normally, that every new cell has 46 chromosomes. That's how we are humans. Old cells die and new cells produce. Every new cell has 46 chromosomes in all our 50 trillion cells. But how come? Is there anybody who can give an explanation for that? But there is only a part in the human body. In males, testes, and within that, what happens? These cells divide, but these cells divide meiotically, what we call supermatogenesis. It's only this place in men. The cells, germ cells, we call them germ cells. These are somatic cells. They divide mitotically. But only germ cells, reproductive cells, they divide meiotically. That means every sperm which is produced meiotically means reducing the number, halving the number of chromosomes. So every sperm which is produced, it has only 23 instead of 46 in normal cell. Why? Why there only? Why not in my hands? Why not in my limbs? Why not in my heart and kidneys? Everything we get from where? Soil. Even the blood is produced from that. And the cells in our spermatozoa, which are responsible for supermatogenesis, that's also examines a sperm, chemical analysis of sperm. It will compose of calcium, sulfur, phosphorus, potassium, iodine, carbons, all this, nothing more than that. Similarly, in the body of a woman, we have a special organ called ovary. All cells of a woman divide mitotically, all cells producing the same number, 46 chromosomes. But in ovaries, well, the production of germ cells, that is ova or eggs, again, a reduction number. The eggs produced in the body of an ovary of a female, all the eggs have only 23 chromosomes. Why? Because human being is to be produced. If there would have been 46 chromosomes, mitotic division in sperm and eggs, then union would have resulted in the production of 92 chromosomes. But why? How is it that we get only 23 chromosomes in sperms and 23 chromosomes number in ova? From here, because they fuse, they form again a cell which is 46. Why 46? Because we have human beings are to be created. Where from? Khalaqna min turab. This process has started in the first phase, that has started from the soil. That's it. Then Quran talks about the second phase. How is it? Which has just started, I know it's told you, now sperm and eggs are produced. A human, a male, is quite generous in this, because in every ejaculation a male can produce around 200 million sperms in just one ejaculation, which is of the volume of a teaspoon, around 200 million sperms. whereas a woman is very miser in this respect. It can produce a single egg every month, 1 egg per month. That means if we calculate it, though at the birth, when a female baby is born, there are thousands of immature eggs in the body. But by and by they degenerate. And when a woman attains puberty, that she's mature, there are only, at that mature age is generally fertile age for a woman, though male has no such limitations. Women have a limitation, that they act as limiting force in the creative process, and divinely directed, of course. We have around 30 years of fertile age in a woman. There may be minor variation, 1 or 2 years. That means it starts roughly at 15, and it continues till 45 when there's menopause, and its creation of eggs stops. That means in her own whole lifetime, if you go by 20, it's not in fact 1 month, it's in fact 28 days a woman produces a single egg. So in her fertile life, a woman can produce at the most 300 to 350 eggs. Khalaqna min turab, which is now clear to us, first phase is over. Now, summa min nutfa, then we created from a droplet. What's a droplet? There's a sperm droplet and a small droplet egg, which is in the body of produced in the women folk. And when sperms are deposited during sexual intercourse, sperms have power, what dimensions, suppose I told you, very, very minute, very, very microscopic. They start heading, reach the uterus and go through uterine canal because sperms are active. They have a long tail, which can, by lashing movements, they have the power to go up, whereas it's not like egg, it's not motile. It only comes down by certain hair-like structures present within the fallopian tubes, which are just connected to uterus and which connected with the ovary. An egg is produced which by the pulsating movement of fallopian tubes slightly comes down, and whereas sperm make upward journey, there is union in the fallopian tubes. Sperm and egg fuse, fertilize, the egg is produced. So imagine, how can we describe all this? How can it be defined on physical levels without thinking about divine intervention and divine power? How is it? It's all by accident. That is what Qur'an asks us, poses a question. Not only this, when an egg is fertilized, what happens immediately? Is it again a chance? Is it an accident? But immediately a message is sent through hormones to uterus. Be ready. There's an egg. Prepare yourself for the reception of fertilizer because you have to change it into baby. When egg fertilizes in fallopian tube, what happens? The uterine wall, which we call endometrium, starts accumulating blood, and it expands, it proliferates, just to receive. How is it? Who sends this message? Is everything just by the way, by accident? As we think about the so-called what we call about the creation, heavens and earth, Big Bang, was that like that accident? Is this also an accident? Fertilized egg comes down from fallopian tubes till it reaches the uterus, and uterine wall is ready to receive it, and it embeds it, which is called embedment. And at that time, you imagine, what is the dimension of the fertilized egg? Even when it reaches uterus, it is of the size of pinhead size. And that, imagine, what is that pinhead? Don't underestimate it. Pinhead is you. It is you in pinhead. Because you are going to be created out of that pinhead, everything you have, your eyes, your nose, your head, your neurons, your kidneys, your heart, your size, girth, height, your color of your eyes, everything. That is in that pinhead. It is pinhead, it is you. So Quran says, think about how is it, can it be a process of accident? And not only that, it is by accident when an egg is fertilized, right? Husband and wife can have still sexual relations after that. But there is a message, a strict message, computerized message, sent to ovary. Now don't produce any egg. For 9 months, you don't produce any egg because your work is done for at least 9 months or even sometimes a couple of months more. 10 or 11 months. During that period, no egg is produced because one egg has been only fertilized. The Quran says, think about it, how it happens. And then it's of the size of a pinhead. In it, whole our body exists. Everything what we have, internal, external, character or thinking powers, mental capabilities, physical strength, whatever you can imagine, that's in that pinhead. And it pinhead starts dividing. It divides into 2, then 4 cells. A single cell producing 2 cells, then 4, then 8, then 16, then 32, then 64, then 128, and then 256. It starts developing. This is called morula stage. Even after 4 weeks of pregnancy, even after imagine 4 weeks, that means 1 month. You know what was your size after that when your mother conceived you, or my mother conceived me? I was of the pinhead. After 4 weeks, I was what? Half an inch. Division cells continues. It continues. After 8 weeks, that means after around 2 months, I am of the size of 3/4 of an inch. In it, it is me, in fact. It's not anything else, it is me. Then it grows. After 16 weeks, this fetus is of the size of 5 inches. It's just 5 inches. That means just size of a finger. And not only that, this fetus gets its nourishment from that small stalk-like structure or petiole-like structure, which connects the developing embryo or fetus with the uterine wall of the mother, connected with blood supply and receives food and what nourishment it needs. Not only that, during that period, if the baby is now growing, it can also produce waste products. Imagine, the growing baby at prenatal stage, embryonic stage, also produce some waste products which are detrimental. Those waste products are deposited in the blood of the mother so that she excretes it. What kind of process it is. And this develops to be, as we call it, shock absorbers. So this is, as Quran puts it, in chapter Al-Muminun, which I referred to just now, verse number 12 and followed by verse number 13. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. Certainly we create a man or human beings we create from the extract of soil, right? That's explained now. Number 2 says, ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ. Then we settle it in the safest place on earth, that is womb or uterus. And this is also surprising. Nobody knew, because at the time of the Prophet, peace be on him, or as a revelation of Quran, there not even lens was, they didn't know what's lens. Lens was discovered by Galileo, is it? Around 1,000 years after the Prophet's time. Ordinary lens. Forget about microscopes and all that. At the time, Quran says, which these things are referred by, I don't want to give certificate to Quran. Quran doesn't need any certificate, just for our concepts and our understanding. Even great embryologists of modern times, including one from Paris, Dr. Maurice Bucaille, he laid in detail light on this. He said, I was surprised and rather shocked by understanding all these details from Quran, embryonic stage. And in present-day world, we have Keith Elmore, a great expert on embryology and anatomy, who's chairman of the subject in Toronto University, whose books, The Developing of Human, he says, what I found in Quran, it is surprising for me that these were the same details which I found, which were during my last 50 years of my personal research on embryology. So it is, to me, it is impossible to, which I got the year it was published. That's in late 80s. It was published from Toronto and Jeddah simultaneously. He says, among other things, he says not only Quran doesn't only talk about all the stages of embryonic development, like which Quran, nutfa, then alaka, then mudga, then izama, then lahma in chapter Al-Muminun. He says this was surprising to me. Not only all the stages of embryonic developments are discussed in Quran, but surprisingly, sequence of events is the same as we find it today. So how did Muhammad, peace be upon him, know it? How come he knew it? The Quran talks about in chapter Az-Zumar, verse number 6, where Quran says, يَخْلُقُكُمْ فِي بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ خَلْقًا مِنْ بَعْدِ خَلْقٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتٍ ثَلَاثٍ. It is Allah who creates you, O humans. في بطون أمهاتكم, in the wombs of your mothers. خلق من بعد خلق, from one stage of creation to another, through systematically. في ظلمات ثلاث, under three veils of darkness, or under three covers. Even Keith Elmore discussed, he says, when I found this verse and other verses too, I was shocked. How come? We didn't know it. We know it is the abdominal wall, we have here, is one wall, and under uterus. Who knew about the third wall? Nobody knew it. Now we know that it is not directly a baby is grown or an embryo develops in the wombs of mothers, in the uterus, but there is a small cowling point called amnion, which is filled with the fluid, amniotic fluid, which acts as I told you, just a shock absorber, so that the baby is at the safest place. Third layer was not known. It is just in the last century. It was known to humans that human babies develop within the wombs of their mothers under three covers, under three veils of darkness. That's what Quran says, chapter Az-Zumar. It's not just we are translating it to suit the modern time, modern sciences. You may consult a translation of Quran which was done by non-Muslims 100 years back. Consult those translations, see how they translate, because they can, at least they have distorted the picture of Quran, no doubt. But they cannot be so dishonest that they will prove their inefficiency by translating verses in a wrong way. They were experts of language also. This is what Quran says. Not then Quran says, then summa min nutfa, then a droplet, which so insignificant your human eye cannot see it. Then it develops in the safest place, as in chapter Al-Mu'minun, the Qarari Makin, the safest place on earth. There's no equivalent to uterus. See this uterus, what is it? As I told you last time, perhaps too, while discussing it, you know the dimension of the uterus? Uterus is 2.5 inches in length to 3 inches. Imagine, in which you have been developed. Just 2.5 inches to 3 inches. See, with the growing baby, it expands. There's such an elasticity, such a flexibility, that it expands, you grow, uterus also grows. Imagine. We have now microscopes, we have now X-rays and gamma rays, we have ultrasounds, we have magnetic resonance imaging we have now, and that's also now a step ahead. We have got PET scans, and it is all those gadgets which make us understand all these things, which Quran explained 1400 years back, that once fertilized egg clings or attaches itself to the internal wall of the uterus, which is called endometrium. Quran says it is alaka. Alaka means mu'allak. Alaka has 2 or 3 meanings in Arabic. Alaka means a thing, what we say in Urdu also, which is mu'allak, a thing that hangs or clings. And this is the immediate thing, fertilized egg clings to the wall of the uterus, is hanging and develops that way. Alaka also is a word used in Arabic for leeches. Incidentally, Keith Elmore in his book gives the picture that at this stage, this developing embryo resembles a leech also. Because leech also, when it is put here, it starts sucking blood, it is hanging. And structure is like worm-like, small earthworm. It is like small earthworm, alaka. And from that alaka, then Quran says means mudga. It is that stage, modular blastocyst stage. Mudga means lump of flesh. But you know, actually in Arabic what mudga means? Mudga in fact means chewed flesh. That we take a piece of flesh and chew it in our mouth and throw it out. How can we explain this thing? That at this stage, when we see the picture of this stage of human development, after alaka, when it starts accumulating cells, a ball of cells, on this, we see as if this flesh, this false, mudga means false flesh, not true flesh, because Quran uses flesh, true flesh later. Let's say, mudga, false flesh and chewed flesh. There are markings of teeth on this at this stage. It appears as if this piece of blood has been really chewed. There is indentation. It is in pictures and slides highlighted by a great embryologist of modern times, as Professor Keith Elmore. He says, I can't explain it. I have no, how can I explain it? It appears as if it is chewed flesh, and it is not true flesh, of course. Is it all by accident? Or product that they develop, and there's constant, continuous process. Even mother not knowing what is happening inside me, passing from one stage to another. Then, as we see because these verses are directly connected to the verses explained in Surah Al-Mu'minun. Verse number 12 onwards, Quran explains in the Summa khalaqna nutfata alaka, fa khalaqna alaka the mudghata, fa khalaqna mudghata izama. Then after sometimes small bones like skeleton, primitive skeleton, starts coming out from this ball of flesh. Izama means bones. Fakasabdal izama lahma is true flesh, true muscles. Then all these bones are clothed with true flesh. That's what our muscles are all about. So these are different stages of embryonic developments explained in Quran. So Quran says, Ya Yunnas, O people, in kuntum fi raibin min al-mas, if you are in any kind of doubt regarding resurrection, فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ, didn't we create you from dust? So why is it? This is one of the proofs Quran gives. That means after the infidels, non-believers, would mock at Prophet, peace be upon him, and the verse of Quran. How is it possible when one human body will be degenerated? It will be mixed up with clay and soil. Bones degenerated to the pulp, nothing left. How can they be recreated? Quran says, if you are in any kind of doubt regarding that resurrection, see about your own creation. When I could create you, and I did create you, that part of you was in the oceans from drop of water which I brought through distillation process. Part of you was in the soil, I collected that. Part of you was in the bellies of microorganisms. Part of you was high in this thermonuclear furnace sun, from which that a ray of light came here. A part of you was scattered in atmosphere, carbon dioxide, which was assimilated by leaves. When I could create you by establishing all things, how come you say that you are dead, you are burnt, or you are cremated, or you are put under the soil? That God which could collect you from all these sources, is it difficult for him to recreate you? It's again this very great argument of Quran. Then it talks about embryology also. This argument has been repeated in Quran many times. We see in chapter Yasin, last verse of Surah Yasin. Awalam yaral insan, doesn't this disbeliever who challenged the Prophet or challenged the authority of God about recreation, awalam yaral insan anna khalaqnahu min nutfatin, doesn't see we created him from a droplet? فَإِذَا هُوَ خِصِمٌ مُبِينٌ. Now he's a full-grown human being. Now he's challenging us. He's threatening me. Who are you? God. Where is God? How can he? وَضَرَبَ لَنَا مَثَلًا. Now he's making mockery at me, giving examples. وَالنَّسِيَ خَلْقَ, but simultaneously forgets his own initial creation. قَالَ, and boastfully, proudly says, مَا يُحْيِي الْعِظَامَ, who will recreate, who will give life back to these bones? وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ, will then be broken and degenerated. Cool, O Prophet, don't you worry, tell them, يُحْيِيهَا الَّذِي أَنْشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ, that God will recreate them, who created them in the first instance when there was nothing like that. When he could create you out of nothing. وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ خَلْقٍ عَلِيمٌ, because he's aware of all the process of creation, death and then recreation. He is every part and everything. Then Quran says, وَنُكِّرُ فِي الْأَرْحَامِ, then we allow or settle this fetus, this embryo, in the wombs, manasha, for what about womb we wish. Otherwise, there's miscarriage sometimes. Ila ajali musamma, for the specific period of time. Summa nukhrijukum tifla, then we bring you out as babies. How is it? At a specific time when you are ready, that means everything is complete. Now you are ready, you have to come out. And some actions, some processes associated with the birth of baby, delivery of the baby start happening. And this full-grown baby comes to this world. Summa nukhrijukum tifla, then we bring you out as babies and children. Summa litablugu ashuddakum, then we nurture you till you attain maturity. You are mature, you are strong, you are young, you are full of health and force. But وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُتَوَفَّى, and some of you we cause to die before, during this period. وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُرَدُ إِلَىٰ أَرْضِ الْأُمَرِ, and some of you we return to feeble old age. are abject old age. لِكَيْ لَا يَعْلَمْ, that they know nothing. مِنْ بَعْدِ عِلْمٍ شَيْئًا, after knowing everything. Old man returning to the baby age. He forgets things. He doesn't know. He doesn't know whether I have eaten my dinner or not, whether I have taken my medicine, asking for medicine which I had taken just a minute earlier. It is all in the powers of Allah. Everything in His. We see such examples in the world around. At specific age, forgetting his own self. The different phases of life. Quran says at that place, this we show you as science, so that you take a clue from it. We take a lesson from it. What lesson is in it? That if you live to old age, you will also have to, maybe you have to face those situations. But that time, every person, though he may not be in a position to express himself, but in the heart he thinks, if I would have been in a youthful age, everybody going for masjid, I would also go up to pray, but now I cannot. If I would have strength, I would have come out and helped somebody, now I cannot. Or do one thing, good job or other, or taking care of my kids, giving them proper education, moral as well as worldly education. But now it's not. He cannot do it. There's a lesson, Quran says, lesson in it, that before that stage comes, take care of yourselves, so that you don't feel sad about yourself. You don't curse at that stage. You'll start cursing your own self. But nothing, that curse is not going to help you. Take care of yourself. So this is it in the nutshell. I have to explain this verse. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم والحمد لله رب العالمين.